We feel like first building the capacity, then we share the stories later. But I've realized it's really good to go with your story from the first day. It's a way of healing. It creates hope. Deepa, I'm very inspired by this time. You've created hope in me because I've realized some people are there just to listen. And I'm ready just to provide even my own story.
But I think that's such a beautiful point. But it is just a simple point, right? Is that maybe we aren't stuck, but maybe we just need people to listen.
Among the people we live with, they don't give us space for stories. They don't want to hear. They have prepared something, organized something, and they have short time on it. They are timed. They don't want just to have stories. It's good just to create another time, another opportunity. So this is what has to happen, even within agencies, movements.
A lot of the time, there are kind of development organizations or people wanting to tell, refugee stories in inverted commas, but then they're not from the voice of the people themselves.
Those people who feel that because the other person talked about our story, we all covered. Yet, our story is individualized. Every person has his own story. We might be all refugees, but we don't live the same stories.
Welcome to the Adda. I'm your host, Deepa Mirchandani, founder of the Deepa Meaningful Consultancy. Whether a European salon or an Indian Adda, the tradition to come together to chat over the issues of the day is an old one. With our modern lifestyles, it can be hard to find spaces for nuanced conversations, genuine and inclusive dialogue, so we created our own. Adda is the Hindi word for the place where people come together to deliberate, disagree, and move on better for the experience of having had the chance to do it. We come with a sense of curiosity, and we're believers that better conversations lift to shifts in perspectives, and better perspectives undoubtedly lead to better decision-making and action. We're really pleased that you're here to be part of it. In this episode, we share our conversation with social entrepreneur Olivier Nkunzurwanda. Olivier was born in Goma, the city that borders the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. As a young man studying for his law degree at university in Rwanda, Olivier gained digital and entrepreneurial skills with the Digital Opportunity Trust, which would unknowingly at the time come to shape his life. After graduating, Olivier was forced to flee the DRC as the conflict escalated. He found himself seeking refuge in Uganda, in a settlement which is home to over 75,000 people. Here he found himself setting up the Refugee Innovation Centre, where he provides digital literacy and entrepreneurial skills to his fellow refugees. In addition, Olivier is supporting the education of young people in early childhood development. In this conversation, we talked about the power of storytelling, the need for refugees to tell their own stories, and the legitimacy of being heard. This episode is just in audio, given our need to conserve bandwidth and data usage to ensure quality of sound and connection. We hope you enjoy it nonetheless. Olivier, thank you so much for joining us at the Adda today. It's really lovely to get this chance to talk to you and delve into things with you a little bit more than we have previously. So welcome and thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
I thought we'd start with you telling us a little bit about where you are and why.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I'm Olivier Nkunzurwanda. I'm the founder of Refugee Innovation Centre. But before becoming a founder, my journey was started as a refugee from DRC when the war broke into my country. It left behind a number of side effects. Some of the effects are persecutions to Rwanda fauna and all the people that are morphologically look Rwandans. So in that extent, my studio was burned up, and I had the only one option just to flee my country to Uganda. So I fled to Uganda in 2015. It was in May. And and I got installed in the Nyakabande Transit Center. So that's maybe that's what marked my reason to come to Uganda.
And so in terms of where you are now and what it's like, because I think people hear about like kind of transition centers, or there's a lot of use of the word camp, and people don't really, maybe can't visualize it of what that really looks, smells, feels like, you know? So could you talk about it a little bit from your senses?
Yeah, actually, when we talk about camp, it has number of let me say the conception is a bit diverse. It has very different meanings. In one corner of my life story, the time I reached into the camp, the first day, we were just gathered into one plastic sheeting. It is a polythene. So let me call it tarpaulin house where we could sleep when we like more than 150 men. Yes, they had to separate us, men from women, but we had only two halls. One hall for men and other hall for women. So in one hall, we were just congested, over 150 men in one hall. Then we had to spend there more than 5 days. Then after 5 days, we were just taken to another place where they wanted just to allocate us land. In Uganda, we don't have camps. We have what they call settlements. So they give you just a certain portion of land where you can stay and build a small shelter by yourself. So they took us just in a bushy place. I remember I could just sleep and the first 3 days I had just to round over me my plastic sheeting that they have given me. So I slept just in a forest. It was a real game. I remember even the third day I saw a snake, a very big snake that I hadn't seen for the first time. It was for the first time in my eyes, in my life, to see that lengthy snake. So that is what I can say. But when you look at the camp, we don't have tarmac roads. I mean, good roads. We don't have good shelters. Those are temporary shelters built by tarpaulin and very simple sticks. When there is a wind, it can blow them away. And when it comes to food, it's really hard. Per now, if I can tell the truth, our refugees receiving 10,000 Uganda shilling. That is around roughly $3 every month. Imagine if a person can take a cup of tea of $3 in just 1 second, but the other one is surviving on $3 on for 30 days. Imagine, that is really incredible. You can think about how this person is really surviving. It's really, really bad. You find someone has started. For the first time, I ate food that I've never eaten. I ate even, you start even hunting animals that are around you, rats, chicken birds and so on, so that you can sustain your life, you see? So this is the real picture. So now when it comes to hygiene, it's almost no way, because you don't have means, you don't have soap, you don't have shoes, you don't have clothing, you don't have something to cover you during night, you don't have mosquito nets, you beaten and so on every night. I remember the first around the first 3 months, we lost around more than 15 boys because they were not really used by the used of the new condition. It was forestry, bushy, a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of malaria, and so on. So this is let me say something about education. It's really shocking. You know, this person is receiving 10,000 Uganda shilling, roughly $3. But at the end, when you take your child to school, they are charging you. They're telling you, please, you need just to pay 12,000 for fencing the school, 6,000 for teachers, this amount for food, this amount for scholastic materials, and so on. And you end up finding yourself having a budget of 40,000 for your kid, yet you're not even generating over 10 a month, and that 10 is specific for food. You cannot even cover for your medication. Your food security is not really enough. Medication is not enough. You cannot, let me say, buy clothes for your children. You cannot provide water for your children, and so on.
How many people are in a settlement? Because you said like that first time there were like almost 150 men in that hall. That was your convoy. And then when you get to the settlement, how many people are in a settlement?
Panal, the settlement, my settlement, Rwanda. Yeah, I stay in a Rwanda refugee settlement. Rwanda refugee settlement hosts over 105,000. Over 105,000 refugees. Yeah, so, and it's a bit congested, you know. Yeah, it's a settlement, yes, but people, they don't have enough land where they can just produce some crops just for feeding, and so on. Even you find someone has a small plot whereby he doesn't even have where to put the toilet. Yeah, so this is that's Rwanda.
And then, like, in terms of the work that you started in the camp, tell us a little, like, if you talk a little bit about what sparked you starting the organization that you did, and why you were compelled to do it.
Yeah, you know, being a refugee, you can flee, but the only thing that you cannot, that you can be separated from from the family members, from the goods, the things, the properties that you've been having, but the only thing that is always there, just with you, that moves with you, is your brain. Me, I was a law graduate, and I have a bachelor's degree in law. The time I was before fleeing to Uganda. So when I reached in the camp, the only thing that I had just okay, let me say, from the time I fled to Uganda, the time it came to my mind to flee, I had just my laptop in my bag, and even the only clothes that I had. So what I did, I grabbed academic documents, and I added on my laptop in my bag. Then I ran away. So the time I reached in Uganda, in the transit camp, I found very many refugees just getting scared when they could tell them, you come, you bring your fingerprint, and we need just to capture your fingerprint on the computer. So everyone was like, now what if my hands or my finger get cut off by mistake of, by touching on the computer or then I was like, maybe these people, they don't even know the computer. Truly speaking, some of the people just that we had come with, they had no idea on the computer. And some of them, it was even their first time just to see the vehicle, a car, to see a motorcycle. Most of them, it was their first time to see, to taste sugar, you know? It was really incredible. It was even, it was shocking on my side. I was like, me having the skill, why can't I just open my small laptop? It was a mini laptop, very small one, with 32 GB capacity. So I opened it. Then I was like, you guys, you come and show me. It was just one weekend. I told them, please, you come. They came. They sat with me. I told them, this is a computer. I saw all of you. You were scared of the computer when they called you just to put your finger on the other thing. So that's when everyone was like, oh my God, now I'm touching the computer. You find someone for the first time holding the computer and he's like, hey, I couldn't even believe that I could just hold this one day, you know? That's how they could just stare. It was really inspiring. So I got inspired by the needs. That is already a need that I discovered in my community. So when I reached the camp, from the transit center, I was taken to the camp. The few we moved together to the camp, they were like, everyone was like, please, when we reach to the camp, please don't stop what you've been doing. You keep on just showing us how they use computer. You remember my computer when I played, I had forgotten my charger behind. It was just demonstrating how the computer look.
So you had to find a new charger.
No, it was very hard for me. I didn't have even a coin with me. I didn't have a coin with me. So what I did, I when we reached there, the first 3 days after settling us in the forest, I had just to build my temporary shelter with a plastic sheeting. Then I could just call a few of them to come and sit with me in my plastic sheeting, and I could just show them how they switch it on. And I tell them, a computer is like these small phones, you know. When you got used to this phone, it is the same way of getting used to the computer. Only that it has just other programs. So there is now a time I found a certain friend of mine. Someone just came into to the field with a computer, with a laptop. I told them, please help me. I want just to show my people how it opens, how it starts. That's only what I want first from you, you know? He came with me, he joined me. He was like, Olivier, now you've been doing this. You've been showing these people. Now you have an idea. Please, can't you start this? That's when I started the Refugee Innovation Centre. From the bush.
From the bush.
The bush.
And then teaching people how to use computers. But then the Refugee Innovation Centre does so much more than teaching people computer skills, right? And there are lots of people within the settlement who, like you, have got degrees and professions and are looking for work, no?
Yeah. Actually, as I told you, when you flee, you don't flee. You flee from your country, you separate from parents, properties, and so on, but you cannot really separate from the skills that you got. So we have very many people just that are still having a number of skills that they moved with. We have doctors, we have pharmacists, we have teachers, and so on. Very many of them that moved with their careers. But now the only challenge is practicing what they have, what they know. They don't have just a platform. Sometimes they apply for jobs. They just look them through the lens of weakness. Being a refugee, most of them, they think that we are weak. We are too weak. We are beggars and so on. And they don't feel like just welcoming us. They see us as threats. They see us as a parasites. So that's why you find a mayor, a big organization, is just hosting among the 25 or 30 or 50 workers, they only have few refugees. Those doctors who've been doing, who've been providing, let me say, medical support in their home countries, this time here, they are cleaners. Yet, when you go to the health centers, they have a non-qualified, let me say, non-qualified health workers, and they even have, let me say, underskilled personnel. Yet we have those one who've been doing this one for years.
But is this because people don't know? Is it because of papers and needing, I don't know, validation that their skills are useful? Or is it about what's the barriers, right? Because you talk about trust and thinking that people are beggars and people are parasites, but what's the reason for the lack of understanding?
Yeah, actually, number one is bureaucracy. People, they don't want just to give out things just to foreigners. They want just to accumulate all the wealth and everything or opportunities just to the people they know, the people around them. And this is mostly what is happening in most of the countries that are hosting refugees and asylum seekers. They just give out dirty jobs to refugees. If they want people who can carry luggages, they just think what comes in their mind, those are refugees. If they want people who can clean, they are refugees, and so on. But if they want managers, even if you have been working with the UN agency in your home country, they don't see you just as a good person to give the work. They have a misconception about refugees. They see they are weak, they are parasites, they can't really sustain things. When we give them job, they will be just thinking about eating only. You see, that's now actually that is misconception about refugee. They just look as through negativities only, and there is no positivity about refugees. So actually that is what's happening.
And this is the thing, right? This gets to the heart of why you and I wanted to talk, right? Is this idea of this negative imaging and how do you retell stories? But a lot of the time there are kind of development organizations or people wanting to tell, refugee stories in inverted commas, but then they're not from the voice of the people themselves, right? So there's a lot of misconception of who's telling whose story and why are they telling that story? And where do people get the chance to speak for themselves?
Yeah, actually, this is one of the things that stands as a challenge. They don't have a platform. We don't have a platform. Yeah, there is a bit of improvement, but still it is mingled with number of interests. But it is just targeting very few top leaders of refugees who are known, and they are the ones just going, and they are given something to talk for on behalf of the other refugees. They just influence their stories. They don't tell the real stories from their bottom of their hearts, but they are just telling stories influenced by other actors, humanitarian actors who want just to prevail their organization's interest rather than just communicating the real needs of the people. So that's the reason why when we get something like this, like podcasts and other freelancers platforms, that's when we can just be open. We tell the real truth with the real stories on ground.
But I thought there's something interesting that you were saying about representation in these stories, right? Where certain people get showcased or they get a lot of airtime on different platforms. It feels like there's maybe conflict's the wrong word, but it feels like there can be resentment in who gets to tell their stories as well, right? Of if people get a lot of space and others don't get any. So it feels like there's something about equity in here for you as well.
Yeah. So actually, when we look at, let me give you just an example of, representation. When you look at the TV station, let me say Al Jazeera. I'm not saying that Al Jazeera is not doing good work. It's very good. Is doing a great work actually. But when you look at someone just telling the story about Gaza, and someone from Gaza is not telling his real story, how it started, how he ended up from where they found him or found him. So it will not really give out just a clear picture when a journalist is just telling, this person just started this way and he's doing this and this. No. It won't really tell the real story. We need just to listen an individual. The story has to be individualized, and it has to be for dignity, and avoiding number of let me say putting a lot of sources and mingling things, stories. So we need just to give this real person to represent his or her story, to tell her heart, to show how the person is feeling. By the voice, you can feel that this person is really telling the story. He lived the story. The story is being fetched from his own heart. It is really coming out from the bottom of the heart. And even the blood, the way the blood is flowing, it is really it is her story. It is maybe the story of joy, maybe the story of challenges, issues that he got in the ways, and so on. This is the real person who can tell, rather than being told by another person for the sake of the other person. No, that is not, I don't look that one as a good story. The good story is when this person, the direct person, the real person, is reached to tell, is given a space to tell, to narrate her own story. If he's using a different language, fight for translating the language.
And this stories at the humanitarian narrative, what's the problem with that? Right? If people are, and I'm playing, devil's advocate here, of that, if people want to tell certain stories because they then think, oh, this will help fundraise or this is going to help channel and support people, is that just not going in the right places? Or is it just actually doesn't put people at the heart of what they're doing? Like, where does that go? What's the value of that?
Yeah, actually, number one, when the stories are influenced, the end user of the story brings, if it's the donation or a project implementer, implement something that is wrong, because all communities were not brought on board to tell their own story, for them just to understand the needs, but they just got influenced by the other people who are really prevailing, who are advancing their interest. When it comes back to the people, when there is just an opportunity for funding and there is a need to implement the project, that's where you find projects are not bringing the results. Why? Because someone is bringing a blanket Yeah, this person wants something to eat. Someone is bringing forks when this person it got even used, and traditionally is very okay using with his hands. It's like going to Indian cultures. So they just they don't.
They miss the point.
Yeah, they miss it.
And so, like, when we say about giving people platforms, what kind of platforms are useful and what kind of stories should be told?
We can use diverse platforms, but the only way just we need just to is what and who is telling the story. Is this person, the person who's telling the story, is really the real owner of the story? And what is the story? Is it by influence, or it is from the bottom of the heart? It is 100% told by the owner of the story. So that is the other point. And another thing, podcasts, televisions, filmmakers, and so on, and other people, and even forums. These are the places, good places, just to tell all these stories. But it would be good when they look at who is telling the story.
But what it feels like, the heart of this, right? There's something about truth and what is an honest reflection of a condition, right? And it feels like you're talking about dignity and agency of not being misrepresented, but also of being seen, right? Like you've used the word like parasite a couple of times now. And that is, I cannot even like begin to kind of think about that word being used. It's such a horrible, vivid word. Like people think we're parasites. Like just to sit with that as a phrase feels very heavy on my heart.
Yeah, actually, being a parasite is something that have been told when you even go here and there, in different countries that are hosting refugees, and you will find in the host communities, they look them just as parasites because number one, when they are settling them just they give them just a certain portion of land, or if it is a camp, it is just taking a certain area of a certain surface where this host community feels that it will be using just maybe for economic or agriculture, or they also be maybe putting raising up some of their houses, and when they see us, they feel like we are just parasiting them. So, but when we look at the real image of refugees, starting from the programming, when it comes to a refugee settlement, you will find very many organizations that are running programs there. They are already engaging host communities. Host community members are the one getting or having very big positions that are well paying. And when it comes to social cohesion, refugees are buying from host communities. They are doing business together. You may find this host community before, like for example, in my refugee camp, my refugee settlement, before Ramwanja got open, that area was really, really bad, and no vehicles that were there, no roads, no what. But the time the camp came into place, they had to build roads for the humanitarian actors to find to have ways just of passing in. And they had just to start up small businesses so that they can feed workers. Restaurants were open to feed workers. Other shops were open just to provide simple services to workers. And now there is electricity. And that one wouldn't happen when refugees are not there. And another thing, the reason why we're not really parasite. For now, I'm a social entrepreneur. I opened a service center, computer service center whereby I train both refugees and host communities in computer literacy. I train both refugees and host community in filmmaking, videography, photography, which helps them after the training just to earn for a living. And another thing, we provide for computer services. If this one needs a photocopy for their documents, they come. We photocopy for them. So we bring services to close to them. We work together. We are not really parasite. We are not really parasite.
But isn't this the problem, though, right? Of people you work with, people you see on a day-to-day basis, they don't think of you in that way. It's the unknown, right? And this is the case in every country. You create a story in your head about what people are like when you don't know them, when you don't sit next to them, when you don't work with them, when you don't share food with them. And so it's easy to kind of come up with an idea when you just don't know.
You know what? When me just on the time I started just seeing number of injustice when it goes to labor market, there was just injustice. I'm a lawyer. I went just for a job to be an interpreter of my fellow refugees, of whom I understand their languages very well, and I can even interpret legal terms in court. But the time they wanted interpreters, they took people just from anywhere that I don't even don't even know anything about laws. You know, interpreting law is very different from interpreting other languages, other careers. You need just legal legal practitioner or any other person who's related to law firm. So when I went there, they denied me and they gave it to someone I know. He had no idea, but they wanted just to protect their interests. So the real time that I got that injustice, it was the several times, and I had number of other experiences from my fellow friends, my fellow refugees. Then I was like, why can't I start my own thing? Then where I will be it will be a home to every refugee that have been that experienced kind of injustice. Me, I will give them just skills. They work for themselves. That's how I came up with the solution.
Yeah, and this is the kind of fighting against the prejudice, right? Of if you're not going to provide me with opportunities, I'm going to have to go and create my own. But for everybody, for the doctors, the pharmacists, the teachers who've been training for years, these are jobs that are vocations. These are jobs that you are called to do. And not to be able to do them because you're denied the opportunity is like, how do you help people kind of move away from, okay, you were a doctor, but now there's something else?
Depending to the real means that I have, I support them. For example, there is what we can just call career orientation. We again come back to them because they lost hope, and now they feel like there are people just to go and dig and cultivate maize and so on. When it even comes to sickness in their homes, even if I'm a doctor, you find them just running to the hospital. Yeah, it is good. It's a good practice, but they don't come up just with solutions as doctors before we go to hospital. How can I just maybe prevent this disease to attack my home? They have forgotten. It's reorienting them to their careers, bringing them back just to their careers, telling them that they are born to do this. They are supposed to do this. They've been doing this. They can even do it better. Now the only challenge that is there is this: they don't have capital to start what they're supposed to do. But they are the best people who can provide the best services ever, because they are provide, someone just, it might be just in the community. I might be a psychologist, but imagine a UK-based psychologist. It will be very hard to let me say, to rehabilitate a person who's undergoing a trauma from DRC. Why? Because the trauma might be related with certain traditions, certain norms, culture. You see? So these are the people that are really that are really fitting their needs. There are people that we need just to give a hand. They do what they're supposed to do to their communities, not just throwing them as garbages, not really giving them dirty jobs, yet they all qualify for other high jobs. Let me say, they qualify for other services. If not, we give them capital to start their own.
And this is a thing, right? So what's the kind of the channels for accessing kind of loans, capital, seed funding? There's some of that, but not enough? Or is there actually not enough targeted for the refugee community? Like, what is the landscape? I don't know enough about that infrastructure.
There's some of the places. For now, I'm a member of Catalyst now. And Catalyst now is a movement that is hosting over 5,000 social entrepreneurs. This is a platform where you can just listen, you can learn, you can gain more skill, you can be reoriented, and it's also another opportunity just to create to have a number of collaborations. You share your idea, and then you gain a number of collaborations. This is a great platform where these people need just to tell the stories, and the globe understand, and this podcast can be shared to very many people. It doesn't really take long, not even over 1 hour. It is shared to different parts of the globe and to different forums, different conferences, where most of the people just will understand what are the needs just on ground. And this is the real thing that we need just to fund. Yeah. Actually, the most important component is the story. Story has to be told. We have over 1,000 stories. We have 1,000 stories to tell. Camp life, refugee life is just an accumulation of stories. One person can tell a story for a year, and you can come back to in the following year. You find it has gained even other different stories, because every day of a refugee is accompanied by number of issues and needs and challenges, and all those ones, they accumulate. They can be stories. They are stories. They are stories to be told. And this is the only way. If we can just get number of opportunities to earn number of people who can just come in and tell the stories, which I'm also doing. This time, I'm training people to tell the stories through filmmaking, videography, and I'm even giving them a little skills just on computer literacy, whereby they will be just able just to write some of the stories that they have in their own languages. And then this is the only way we can just understand what these people are really undergoing.
Do you have any examples for me of the stories that you're telling in these kind of the documentaries or the filmmakers who are that you're helping, right? Uncover their stories. What are the types of things that they're talking about?
Yeah. I remember there is a story. There is one film that we captured with one of my former students. So we got a film called Corona. It was during COVID-19. That movie was telling all the challenges that refugees faced during COVID-19. Number one, the most of the challenging issues is when we saw most of the organizations that were within the refugee setting most of them closed their doors and they ran away. And then the movie was calling just for people just to get more other to get close together, to build solidarity. We start our own initiatives so that the time we get issues like this COVID-19, when these international or INGOs are leaving or closing doors, for us we'll be able to sustain the services on ground. That is number one. Then the second, it was just communicating directives for people just to prevent themselves from COVID-19 and how they have just to respect different rules that have been brought by the government, the curfew time and so on, all those things. And another thing is the practical, the household based practical practices that we were also let me say giving out, like mobilizing household heads just not to consume a lot of their economies. They make sure that they consume differently from the way they've been just consuming things, because we don't know when this will last. It might last. It was actually in 2020, early 2020. That's when we told them we had an idea of producing this movie. So very many people, they loved it because it was a clean story, true story, and it was telling the real life of people just within the camp. So we can just play this one just through movies. We can have a documentary. We can produce documentary movies. We can even have an individual narration. We approach someone just to narrate the story of their own. We have other stories that we.
And where are these? And where are these films and documentaries? Like, where are they being showcased?
Yeah. It's you mean the platform? We normally use YouTube's.
Yeah. Okay.
We developed a number of stories like for different refugee-led organizations where you find we showcase what these people have been doing on the ground. Is kind of creating more advocacy and even convincing the globe or the international community that we also there. We can also run things. We can also do this. We can also implement projects, and we can sustain them because we live, we understand them. You see. So we have them on YouTube channel. We have YouTube channels. Like when you go to Ramanja Rural Foundation, there are a number of stories that are within there. When you go to Refugee Innovation Centre, we have also a few stories that are there. When you go to G5 company, we also have a number of stories. This time we were planning just to create one platform where all these stories will be flowing.
Yeah.
Where all these stories will be found. Yeah.
Talk to me about the effect that this has. Because, like, you can do something where people are coming to learn how to make a documentary, or they're like becoming filmmakers. It's like skills based to some extent. But what about those who are just narrating?
Yeah, actually, telling the story, it have different aspects. One, it can be an income generating activity whereby you can just stand as a good storyteller. You go and collect number of stories just from different people. and you gain as you you gain from the story that you have told. Secondly, we have TikTokers, we have YouTube, you have a number of many other platforms that normally pay storytellers. Secondly, it is also a way of advocacy, whereby the story that has been told, it is telling already the needs from the people, and it is communicating to the change makers, to the policy makers, and so on, decision makers who are there. Whoever that is encountering the same story is the person who will also advocate the same story, or who bring back the story when they will be seated with other decision maker. It will be brought on the table, and already the solution of that person is gotten. Another way of storytelling is correcting manners, correcting behaviors just in the communities. This person will tell the story that how he got challenged by a certain event or a certain hostilities in his life, and the other person will be already aware of the effects or what is affecting these people, or how the war is affecting people. They are becoming refugees. They are losing everything. So this is actually importance of telling the stories, hearing from the stories. This is what we want to bring. It will have multifaceted positive effect.
And what's the kind of the general? Are you working with people from all age groups? I can imagine it gets quite creative, but also it's quite hard to do as well. Right? Because as much as this could be a fun exercise for people, right, for young people particularly, it's a challenging thing to be confronted or to share your story. So do you get lots of, are people hesitant to do it, or are they kind of encouraged? And is there a difference between age and gender, for example?
Yeah, actually, age is also challenging sometimes. They are ages, they're very okay with the story, they want to tell, they want to give out the stories, but still you find, we need their stories. They are very good, they are very great. We need to understand how they grow, how they are combating, they are fighting reproductive health issues, sexual life issues, and everything. Yes, we know, we want to know all about that one. They are good to tell their stories. For them, they are open. But when we go to that age, let me say from 35 and above, this is the...
Wait, did you just say third age is 35 and above? That can only be said by a young person, Olivier. You put me in the third age. I just want to say that's a little bit cheeky.
Ages are numbers,
Oh, yeah, you're telling me that.
Ages are numbers.
Okay, sorry, carry on. In the third...
Yeah.
In the
third age. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, that was a little bit of a sensitive moment. It hit me in the heart, but I'll let you carry on.
Yeah. You don't want to create those ranges. You can say, that age starts with 200 and above,
Yeah. No, it's too late now. It's too late. It's too late for you to get yourself out of it. Carry on. 35 and above is third age. Maybe I'm in my fourth age. Crikey, let's see where you go with this. Go on.
Yeah. So actually, when we go to these ages from 35 and above, it is very hard. Most of cases, these are the people who are very confident, who are very busy just looking for a living for their children. Grabbing them just for 1 hour, it will be very hard. They will be like, now you see, it is very hard for me just to get a living for today. Now imagine when I sit for 1 hour, I'll be losing everything. I need just to walk 10 kilometers, from here to the other side to see if I can get someone to dig for or to cultivate for. But if I sit here for 1 hour, so most of the issues, the challenge that we normally get is that age is not giving us opportunity. Yet they are the ones who are, let me say, they are libraries of the past. They are the ones who host what happened just in the past. They understand the stories of the past, the stories that they normally pass through. Even they can even tell on behalf of their daughters, on behalf of their young people, what is going on. But they are the people who are always busy looking for everything. But do you know what normally is it relenting or slows down this initiatives? Most of the cases, we have those people who feel that because the other person talked about the stories of our story, so we all covered. Yet our story is individualized. Every person has his own story. We might be all refugees, but we don't live the same stories. Like now I'm a GC member of the Catalyst 2030, a governing council at the Catalyst 2030. I'm meeting very many people. Most of them, they are wealthy and might be having very big companies, but no one knows what is with me. No one knows that right now I'm speaking in a room that I'm renting, a very small room of 2 by 3 meter. That's where I'm seated, and no one knows that one. And no one even knows how I'm surviving. It is also, that's the reason why I'm saying.
And so tell me about that, right? Because there's this being a spokesperson or being a social entrepreneur, and there's a presenting of one story, right? And then, like you say, the reality is more complex and more nuanced. There's something like, is it that people don't know because they don't ask, or is it because they see you as this kind of successful representative?
People, we don't want to give out stories. Sometimes we feel like when I give my story, people would just conceive me as if I'm begging, as if it's a way of just maybe accumulating or attracting funders, donors, and so on. But this is what was my past idea, my past realities. But it is time to come out, to uncover myself. Yeah, I'm supporting my communities. I have even a small school for young children that no one is paying because they cannot really afford. It is, yes, Irish Childhood Development. Yes, I have a stationery, a workshop for computer library and photography and so on, a training room. Yeah, but my real story, no one knows. No one knows that I can even spend a day without eating. Yeah, because maybe I was not really in a position of telling my stories. Maybe I told my stories, but everyone was like, this person is begging.
And so what stopped you? And is it the kind of, you don't want to present that, or is it because of feeling like people don't really care or don't want to know? What do you feel like has stopped you from sharing?
Yeah, actually, that is the first idea. You know, I'm still new in the GC. We feel like First building the capacity, then we share the stories later. But now I've realized it's really good. It's really good to go with your story from the first day. People, they understand you because you never know. You never know. It might not be, it might not generate something for you, but it can save someone behind you. It might be saving, maybe it might even save another person within. And that's the reason why wherever I am, this time I want to encourage people to tell their own stories. We understand, we listen to them because everyone needs a listener. It's a way of healing. It creates hope. Really deeper. I'm very inspired by this time. You've created hope in me because I've realized some people are there just to listen, and I'm ready just to provide even my own story. The other stories. We have stories. I told you every day we live stories.
But I think it is. But I think that's it's such a beautiful point. But it is just a simple point, right? Is that maybe we aren't stuck, but maybe we just need people to listen and show that they want to listen, and that's enough to open a space.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Deepa, you know the only thing that normal limits. It also stands as another challenge. Among the people we live with, they don't give us space for stories. They don't want to hear. They have prepared something, organized something, and they have short time on it. They are timed. They don't want just to have stories, It's good just to create another time, another opportunity, just to share stories. We listen to them. As you did. That's the reason why I like this podcast. It gives platform. It opens. It gives hope. Actually, it gives really hope, real hope. So this is what has to happen, even within agencies, within movements, within and other places. We need just to have time for stories. We listen. If this person is free to tell his story, we listen to the story. Yeah, we can get used of that one, and we never know. We might read from that one. I'm not looking at the money. I'm not but looking at listening, understanding, or just giving space for this person just to open the heart, to heal from inside out. That is a real hope. That's a full hope.
So how do we encourage this, Olivier, right? How do we show up better?
Yeah, the only way is starting stories from the localizing, decentralizing stories, not telling them from the top, from up. Just start from the local, deep down. Don't be a speaker. Don't be a speaker. Just give a platform, someone to speak by himself. We need just to come down on ground. We listen. We capture story from Uganda, story from Malawi, story from Nicaragua, stories from Jordan, from Gaza, from India, from everywhere, We need even to get stories. We're not the only ones who are suffering. Even in the US, there are people who are suffering. Story from the US, from people there in New York. I've been watching movies, not movies, real news. That's We have homelesses there. So we need to capture stories. We listen to them. Maybe they have, we might create a hope from them. So we don't need just to go with this one, looking for the earnings, but hunting for the truth, saving for the future. People need to understand what has been happening here. Very many people are losing the history of their countries because they don't have people to tell the stories. They are not giving platform for their nationals just to narrate what they have been just going through. You end up just having like limitations. You being influenced, you being used. At the end, you find the fifth generation. They don't know that India was a country sometime back because they don't have a certain story talking about India. Maybe they are listening the story from one person, yet we would have collected the stories from very many people. You need to have a big bag, Mama Deepa.
But do you need to have a listener in order to tell your story?
I think in this modern world, a listener finds you in the way.
Mm-hmm.
You tell the story regardless to who is listening, because you might even just upload your story just in a podcast, and you wait for the likes, you wait for the views for years and years. But at the end of the 10 years, someone just realized that something had been told by Deepa. Do you remember the other story that it was captured by Deepa? We've been just bypassing. But that story was telling, it encompasses all the truth. You see, this is now the stories, the real content creators. Yeah. Actually, one of the things that normally challenges is when there are people who try just to tell their stories, but they got discouraged of missing people who are listening to them. You find someone just has uploaded a story just on YouTube, but has never gotten a like. And the person pulls out. It's like, no, I'm no longer just telling the story because no one is listening to me. This is what I'm looking at. We cannot really discourage that one. And we cannot even support that discouragement from that real person. Because the story that you're telling yourself, it might not be valid today, but it might be valid in the coming days. This person might not be interested, but the other person might be interested. Maybe the person who will be interested is not yet born. Yeah, so this is actually what the content creators has to look at, not just mythifying things, not bringing a lot of rhetorics, a lot of words that can convictions and so on to attract listeners, but telling the realities is also something that is okay. When it comes to realities, very few don't want just to understand. But now, what we need just to look at is what are the techniques that we need just to take to use so that the realities attracts people the same way those convictions. Yeah.
A lot of, like you were saying about advocacy, right? And the power to shift minds and attitudes and having a call to action is also part of all of this. Because this is about so much more. To your point about, it's about dignity, it's about being seen, it's about being valid, it's about being heard. and a recognition of voice.
Actually, there is also another way. When we look at the stories that you're telling and what type of content that you're providing, sometimes it might be a story that is a bit, let me say, it's a content that is urgent to be listened. Maybe you're giving out something that you lived, which you feel people has to not to delay to take action. So this is something that you cannot just upload and forget. This is something that you have to upload and disseminate. You upload and you disseminate. You disseminate from other different platforms. You create number of accounts from all the social media. You just post, you disseminate through comments, you disseminate through, because it has the power of the truth, and it has something that is very important to the community. So, and I think this is, it's all about this. It's all about our stories. It's all about our stories.
It's all about the story.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Adda. The Adda is brought to you by the Deepa Meaningful Consultancy. Production is managed by Urban Luca, and our music is from the song Unreasonable World by the talented Bernard Schimpelsberger. To find out more about the Deepa Meaningful Consultancy, to sign up for our monthly newsletter, and also check out our group Adda sessions where we host small spaces for big messy topics, please check out www.deepameaningful.co. We'll see you next time.